If you want to understand the mission of your soul, you have to win the battle that it is inside of you between your egoic program, the program that was inserted when you were born up to 7 years old, and it was constantly repeated. That's one part, and there's a spiritual truth. In the spiritual truth, the purpose of existence of all human beings is actually the same, and it is to cope.
This is the Spiritual Thoughts Podcast, a program created by SciHack, an international community for spiritual leaders and seekers that desire to expand their consciousness and co-create a better future based in love, wisdom, and abundance for all beings.
We are going to talk about the spiritual mission, the mission of your soul versus all which human had created for a mission. So people are born and they create a character based on all the characteristics of the culture, family, and school. You get a program. So you've been programmed in the moment of life where you are meant to be programmed. People in general are meant to be programmed the first 7 years of their lives. That's why the education during those 7 years are so important, fundamental. And in this society, it's very backwards, right? The most important education you perceive is the higher education, to have a college degree. So you believe that the most important thing is to have a college degree. But actually, the most important thing is, what are you going to learn the first 7 years of your life? Because it doesn't matter really. What are you going to study when you get older? If you had a shitty first 7 years of your life, you're going to struggle. And for your entire life, you're going to feel lost. You're going to feel powerless. You're going to feel like you don't know what you're doing, where you're going, what are your priorities. You're always going to be confused. People are confused because they never got it right the first 7 years. They got programmed in the wrong way. The way they were programmed is surrounding this ego structure. In the premise, the foundations of your society, there's personality, there's ego, there's history, there's science, and everything is about taking what you already know, what you already understand, and just copy-paste. And what's truly important, really, is for you to understand fundamental spiritual matters. The most important thing is to remind children that they are co-creators with their thoughts, their feeling, how to manage their mind, how to manage their emotions. That's the most important thing. Drive them into their own imagination because they are learning how this world works. If you say to them that the most important thing in the entire world is to take action, is to have a job, earn money, be someone that has specific characteristics, you're not actually teaching the most important fundamental thing to your child, which is spirit, is the truth. But the thing is, it is awfully difficult to do this if you're on your own. If you're only the mother trying to teach this to your children, still very powerful, so don't ever stop doing that. But if your mother is showing you that the world is magical, but when you talk to your dad, when you talk to your grandparents, when you go to school, they tell you the exactly opposite of that, it's going to get very confusing for the kid. The kid is going to start having this fight in his own mind. Is my mom right? Or is it the entire world right? Because my mom is saying things that other parents aren't saying, that other friends aren't saying, that the entire world is not saying. That's why it's very, very important to organize. If you're a very conscious person, don't pair with an unconscious person. You have to be very honest about the importance for this person to have this experience of consciousness. So it's like, this is important for me, for my family, for my children, for the entire planet, which it is. Would you be open to transform yourself spiritually as a priority? Because if not, our children are going to suffer. So why children suffer? Children are not meant for suffering, and it's very obvious. They're optimists, they're creative, they're connected with source. Unless they lived a very profound trauma, they tend to live in this magical, beautiful world. It is not hard to stop the suffering of your children. What you have to do is to manage yourself. If you manage yourself and your partner manages themselves, and you both together take decisions that prioritize the well-being and the spiritual well-being of your children, the children will have a very, very happy and profound and whole and holistic childhood. It's not that complicated. We overcomplicate it because we are very messed up and we are very confused. So the number one issue is confusion, is disorder, is that we believe things that are actually false, but they seem true because we see them in a daily basis. And things that have happened in the world are not the essence. So our reality is just a projection of our own minds, our individual and collective minds. So you're very confused until you have your awakening, your spiritual awakening. What happens there? You get a glimpse of the world, how it really is, and how wrong you've been living for your entire life. And that's chaotic, that's very stressful, that is actually in some cases more confusing. We didn't come to heal, right? Because you're not sick. You came to get it. You came to get the actual order of stuff and to co-create a beautiful world. That's the actual reason for existence. So therapy is amazing, but spirituality got trapped in therapy. And today we believe that spirituality, it's all about healing. And spirituality is about understanding the truth of existence. And once you've understood the truth of existence, then you empower yourself to co-create a beautiful world. You came here to co-create a beautiful world. And if the world is awful, it's because our minds are awful, our feelings are awful, what we believe about the world is awful, what we believe about God is awful, what we believe about spirituality is awful. So it's all messed up. All the information, all the knowledge is messed up. So we are messed up and the world is messed up. And the way we can change that is to be enough people understanding the world in the right way. So that's the reason of joining a spiritual community that is based on universal truths that has been shown by our ancestors during the entire history. Our ancestors understood things very clearly, but we did not have all the tools we've got today, right? We didn't have houses that are warm or cold when we needed to. We didn't have internet. We didn't have all the things we have today. So in ancient times, you had to survive. You had this wisdom, but at the same time, you had to survive, and everything got confusing very quickly. So nowadays, what is happening is we have all the material resources we need for living, all, but they're distributed in a very awful way. Just 1% of the population has most of the resources, and we have lost most of our spiritual wisdom because there's a lot of information. So there's so much going on at the same second that we're more confused than ever. Everything seems confusing. And it is actually created for that. It is a test. Are you going to pass that exam or not? Are you going to pass or are you going to fail? And that's constant. Are you passing? Are you failing? Are you passing? Are you failing? And failing, it is not absolute. The only way you can fail is that you didn't learn anything from that. The sad thing is that is very common. It's very common that people don't really understand the actual lesson. They learn something, but they don't really learn it completely. They have this half parts of truth and half parts of lies. So there's a lot of lies. Most lies. I would say that there's like 99.9% of the information in the planet is just BS. Sad, but true. All that said, if you want to understand the mission of your soul, first, understand that you have to win the battle that it is inside of you between your egoic program, the program that was inserted when you were born up to 7 years old, and it was constantly repeated onto yourself. What was important, what was the beginning and the end of life, what is the diseases, what is to be successful, and all of that. And you have to understand that's one part, and there's a spiritual truth. In the spiritual truth, the purpose of existence of all human beings is actually the same. And it is to co-create a beautiful world. It's to bring the essence of creation, the essence of love, the essence of God, the essence of beauty, and all of that amazing values, you bring all that light and you plant it on earth. So you create a material, beautiful world that is in sync with the celestial realms. The Bible actually says this. The Garden of Eden on earth, Jesus said this also. He said about the kingdom of God on earth. In summary, what that means is there's celestial realms that are beautiful and perfect. And your job is to create a world that is just as beautiful and perfect as the celestial realms. The only way to do that is for enough amount of human beings to have a wider perspective or consciousness of this light. Buddhism talks about enlightenment. Enlightenment is to channel more light, to understand spiritual essence wider and wider and wider, every step further. I understand the existence, the spiritual reality, every day more and more and more and more. That's enlightenment. Every single religion and spiritual path, mystical, shamanic, whatever, they all got a little part. Some of them actually got them all right. But when people try to understand what they were saying, they misinterpret some parts because it is actually hard to understand some aspects of life. And actually, many spiritual teachers were very poetic, which is beautiful because they were artists. But some people could not understand that poem or art. They really wanted to catch the essence, but for a person that didn't that spiritual experience, it was very hard to understand. So there's a lot of said about spirituality, and sometimes it's very hard to actually understand what it's saying. And also, it was common for spiritual teachers to be persecuted by the government in their moment. So the governments were very stubborn on their own beliefs, their belief system. So these spiritual teachers would totally destroy the material government. The spiritual teachers will destroy the ideas of this material government, and the governments will go after them. So they had actually to hide some information. They had to disguise themselves so they were safe. And this has happened with, I may say, almost all religion at some point has persecuted and killed someone because they were more enlightened. That's harsh, but it's true. And it's still happening. But in the moment we stop believing in one person that is the one leader of this religion, and we start this self-leadership, when we understand that we are also that person, we just have to learn and apply, and to make it our own, we are all consciousness changers, right? Here, in this moment, you that are hearing this, you are a world changer. It's impossible for you to be hearing this until this moment. I've been speaking for quite a while. You're still here. And you're actually understanding and integrating this and saying like, oh, I knew this. Or maybe saying, oh, I never heard of this, but this is interesting. I like it. Whatever you are feeling with this, if it is positive, if it is, I want to know more, if it is, oh, now I understand everything in my life, that means that you're a world changer. And that's your duty. So I may say to you that the mission of your soul, the spiritual mission of the soul, is for you to be responsible and empower yourself onto these ideas. The idea of you're a world changer. You are a conscious person that has all the tools and has been connecting with this wisdom. So you're ought to bring the spiritual realm into this world. How you do that? First, you start with yourself. So the spiritual realm, the spiritual kingdom, is full of spiritual beings, beautiful beings. Are you a spiritual being? A beautiful beings? Let's have this checklist. In a daily basis, how are my actions? What do I do during the day? Are those actions full of light and love and compassion and unity? This sense of I am changing the world. I'm making someone's life easier. I'm making someone's life happier. I'm sharing wisdom to others. Are you doing that on a daily basis? If you're not, please do that first. If you are buying too much material stuff that end up in the garbage, stop, right? If you are not recycling, stop. If you are smoking or are eating fast food, garbage, stop. If you're eating things that may harm other beings, especially animals and other human beings, because human beings are on today exploded or they are enslaved. Some countries that are probably not listening to this audio, but there's some other countries where you don't know what happens, but they enslave people, they enslave children for you to have things on Walmart. Sorry, but true. Don't be part of that. Be part of a sustainable community, of a sustainable product, support sustainable brands that are conscious. So start with your actions. How I am going to bring the kingdom of heaven here to earth. Start with your daily basis actions. In a summary, just bring light with everything you do. Be more conscious. Try to do good. I also need to say to you that it's very hard to do this on your own, almost impossible. I don't believe in individualism. I don't believe that the answer to all our problem is to change by yourself and to not be part of a community. No, wrong. So look for a community. It would be better if that community is close to where you live, but if not, there's a lot of international communities that are digital communities that can help you understand what is ecological, what is not, what is actually compassionate and what is not. Try to be part of a community. Part of this list also is, how are you feeling? So how are you feeling during the day? It is said that our soul communicates with us through our feelings. So when you're feeling shitty, you're probably not in alignment with your soul. Whatever you do, whatever you're thinking in that moment, it would be this egoic program. So when you act or you think around your egoic program, you may feel anxiousness, stress, all these awful feelings. Why? Because you're not connected with the spiritual truth, the light. So how are you feeling on a daily basis? If you're not feeling okay, try to understand deeply why you're not feeling okay. Don't say, oh, I'm going to do things to feel better. No, that's not the point. Because you're going to feel awful eventually. The thing is not try to feel better all the time and be obsessed about how you feel. How you may be obsessed with is understanding, deep understanding of yourself. All that your feelings want to encourage you to do is self-knowledge, self-understanding, to know yourself. So do that. Know yourself. Why are you feeling like this? How can you change this in a very profound way, not superficial way? And this is very connected with the third part of, okay, how are my thoughts on a daily basis? Are my thoughts full of light? Or my life are just full of limiting beliefs of this egoic program? They're not spiritual. And the fourth dimension and part of your daily checklist is, how is my spiritual connection? Am I intuitive? Can I rely on myself to be smart and wise? Not only smart, but wise. Can I heal myself? Can I be a better person for myself and others? Am I changing other people's life? Is it easier for me to change my own life from a very deep and spiritual perspective? Do I even understand how the universe works? If I don't understand how the universe works, I will fail once and twice and 3 times. I will constantly fail because I'm actually not understanding how everything works. And there's people teaching that. Yes. And today is easier than ever before to connect with a teacher that actually has this information that you need. For example, this audio, right? You came up to this audio, so you have an enormous amount of answers. I wanted to record this to give answers. So these are the 4 fundamental aspects of your kingdom, the kingdom of you as an individual. Those are your actions, your emotions, your thoughts, and your spiritual connections. Those are yours. The moment you enlightened yourself, actually, if you were blind, spiritually talking, and then you have a certainty, a truth, that's enlightenment. So you have this enlightenment moment, you may share that with others. So you help others to bring the kingdom of heaven into their own individuality, into their own life. If you have kids, you can create that. If you have a family, you create a very enlightened family. And also, I would totally recommend you to start connecting first with a digital community, but eventually what we will need as a humanity, what we will actually need is for all people that have this consciousness together physically, because every single person that is listening to this has specific skill set. If you came and lived in a community with me, I would be a teacher because that's my set of skills. But you are probably going to be something else, and I need you to. The community needs you to. God wills, or the universe wills, or the Great Spirit wills, the Great Mother wills, needs you to take all your skill set, move into a specific space where you can live in peace with other people that has this same consciousness, and they put their skill set for the community. I'm not saying do this right now. I am sharing with you a wide, step-by-step, very specific and practical plan of how you may be part of the change of the world. If you're hearing this, you are a world changer, and I want to tell you how. So if you wake up tomorrow and you remembered that you heard this, and you're going to say, she said I was a world changer. That was so inspiring. I have no idea how to do that, so I will keep doing whatever I was doing that didn't make me happy. No, I made this audio so you will have no excuse. There's no excuse. Tomorrow, you will know what to do and what to do the day next of that and next of that. That's beautiful. And if someday you feel down and you feel like you don't know what to do and everything gets hard, because it does for me, it does for everyone on earth, things get hard. Remember, those hard moments are tests. They are testing how much you understand your own power to co-create your own reality. They are testing your own self-empowerment. They are testing how much you believe, you're certain of your power of co-creating your reality. They will test your new tools. If you learn to manage yourself, to manage your actions, to manage your emotions, to manage your thoughts, to manage your spiritual connection, you will be tested. The universe may be sure that you really understood that lesson. If you are very compromised to, for example, stop being angry all the time, let's say you're a person that tends to get angry. If you want to start managing that, you may buy a course or hire a coach or therapist. You may do that and start learning how to manage your rage, how to manage your anger. Eventually in your life, it may happen that a situation, it's hard and it will test if you really learned to manage your anger. And if you pass that test, you get like positive points, start saying. It's a game. Life is a game. Maybe you've heard many times life is a game, but no one was able to explain the full game to you. I don't know. I don't have time to explain the entire game for you, but just tiny parts that may be useful. And that is, there's a challenge. If you prepare yourself for the test, you may pass. If you pass that test, you will be rewarded. Something beautiful in your life will happen. Actually, something magical. Some people will say miracles. So this is the last thing I'm going to share with you in this audio because it's very full of information, but I'm going to share with you the last thing. Are you craving for manifesting miracles? Yes, most people is craving for manifesting miracles. And there's so many people talking about how to do that. I've been studying manifestation for many different teachers. And I don't like most of teachers nowadays because they don't really understand the full picture, just a tiny bit. So they say something and you may try it and you may fail, actually, because they don't understand the overall mechanism of the universe. I won't go deep on that, but if you decide to go deep on that, you can comment. I'm in the middle of the forest with my cell phone channeling this for you. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this audio. But if I upload it into social media, you can comment with your questions and we will answer because we love answering questions. And when I talk about we, I talk about my husband and I. And we're soulmates and we are very, very, very compromised with our spiritual awakening and the spiritual awakening of everyone else. We are creating this digital community in Spanish for right now because we are from Latin America, Chile. But it is also a possibility that we start answering questions in English. Put in the comments every further question. I'm going to teach you how to manifest and I'm going to end up this audio. So manifestation, how it is done. The thing is, let's say there is this mechanism. I told you about one of those mechanisms. the final idea of, let's say, God or creation's will. Let's talk about the creation's will. The creation will, which is the ultimate creator of everything. If you want to create something, you need the creator's will. If you want to manifest something, you need the creator's will. You need for God to say yes to you, right? If God doesn't say yes to you, it will be harder to manifest. I'm not saying that it's not going to manifest. We are that powerful. If you try something hard, very, very hard, you will end up manifesting that, but you will have to work hard. If you want to manifest something easily with no hard work whatsoever, this is the key. You have to be aligned with God's will. What is God's will? I told you at the beginning. God's will, or the creation will, is for this world to be as the celestial heaven. They want to co-create heaven on earth. So every time you are God on earth, you are heaven on earth. Every time you are more enlightened, every time you enlighten others, you help others, you are light in this world of darkness, because this is a world of darkness. Light is hidden. It gets very, very dark. So in a moment of darkness, you are a channel of light. In that moment, you are aligned with the creation's will. And that gives you this bonus, let's say this currency, this heavenly currency to manifest or co-create a miracle. So that's why if we look into people that manifested miracles, we could call some saints. It is well known that saints ought to heal people, or they had everything financially. They never suffered from money, but they never charged for anything. So how it is that a person that never charged, he or her always had everything they needed? That's because they were God's will on earth. They tried to align themselves with God's will, or the creation's will, or the Mother Earth will, the light will. It's like you have this bank account, and every time you are light in darkness, there's like this heavenly money put it into your account. So actually, you may say that God pays, and it's very open. Like, it has jobs offering all the time for people to be light in a moment of darkness. It's always available. There's so many jobs in this heavenly realm, and there's a job for every single person. And the job you have right now, because you heard until this moment of this audio, is very important. So just be in tune with yourself. Be light on darkness for yourself and for others. And that will bring you the power to manifest miracles, healing, money, projects, whatever. Why? Because, of course, God wants to help people that are aligned with their soul mission. So specifically, if you're very clear that you want to co-create, let's say, and that's what my husband and I are trying to do, and we're just starting, but what we really desire, and I want you to imagine this, is that we first create a digital community, and eventually we create a physical community with people of all over the world that are very committed to bring this heavenly plan onto earth. So we will have our school, we will have our store, we will have our houses, we will have our even celebrations. Everything on our community will be aligned with bringing this heavenly community, right? If we are all very committed to be this light. If you do that, you will be of what? Rewarded by receiving everything you need for this to be co-created, manifested. If you really desire to manifest a beautiful home in a beautiful place, surrounded by beautiful people, where you go to the store and buy beautiful products made out of love and compassion, if you desire that, do the best to make that true, and you will start gaining this spiritual money, saying, to manifest that. And it will be easier, faster, and quicker than you think. Because people that are very aligned with their soul, with their truth, with heaven on earth, we want to help each other. And we are very certain that if we help each other, it will be easier. So much easier than trying to do everything alone. So if you feel like you're trying to do everything alone, it's because you live in a place where no one really understands you. But if we create a community where everyone understands each other, it is not about you. It's about us. And it's so beautiful because you don't have to do everything. As I told you, you will be relaxed because whatever it is around you, you will trust. Today, that doesn't happen, right? We don't trust anything in anyone. And we have a lot of reasons too, because people is disconnected, people is hurt, people is frustrated, is unconscious, are mean, they are very confused by their own darkness. And I really hope there's one day in life that every single person enlightens themselves. But until that doesn't happen, for the people that is already conscious enough to understand this message, let's create a community. Let's know each other. And if this touches your heart in a very profound way, let's live together. As I told you, we are living in a van currently at this moment, and we're very open to go wherever the life and the will of the creation guide us to co-create this beautiful community. That said, I send you all many, many blessings. Please share your thoughts, share comments. Specifically, we love questions. And let's start creating this mambo jumbo. I love you so much. The spirit, the creation's will, God, loves you in ways I cannot say because there are no words that may actually
Explain.
I would say that God loves you infinitely, in infinite amounts, and in all your faces, in all your moments, even the darkest ones, loves you very, very deeply. And you're not alone. And don't try to do everything on your own. Bye-bye.